So I'm standing back, trying to scan all over, letting my eye bounce around, trying to see what jumps out at me. Let's try experiment, try different things. Sometimes I'll just pick a couple colors up in my brush, pick up a little turf, let's cool that off a little bit here, and just see what happens. Okay, that's a color spot. Now that's obviously way too hot, but you got to start somewhere. So you just make a bold statement, a bold color statement, and then you come back, you look at it, assess it, say, I think it needs to be a little higher in value. I think it needs to be cooler, which I see more lemony yellows, cool yellows. There's even some greens in here too, but let's try some cool yellow. Try some cad yellow pale, and maybe even a touch of cad green. Cad yellow pale, a little Indian yellow here. Pick up a little white. Spirit so that it'll just flow off the brush and see what happens. So Nelson used to say, when you're doing color study, if you're not having an anxiety attack, you're not doing it right. Right? So it's like every spot, it's like your heart should kind of be in your throat.
Glad to hear you say that.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the way color study should be. It's like, because every color spot is an opportunity to push yourself beyond your comfort zone. I go cat red.
Awesome.
Cat red, some white, a little bit more white. So I don't want to get so many color notes that I get confused, but I need to get
Tom is here on a light day.
This is a very calm painting.
So I'm just going to keep, okay, I'm kind of liking that, I mean, that color's okay. This color's almost a little too brown. This color's almost a little too brown. Because we are going for saturation. We're trying to see color where, for every note, we want to bring the color out of every note. Okay.
High chroma, you're talking about?
High chroma, yes, high chroma. That's the goal. We're not trying to make a painting as much as we're trying to experience, increased color perception. We can push our own personal boundaries. Cool.
Is this the way Impressionists paint?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, yes, I think there's truth to that. Because the Impressionists were trying to capture the light. They wanted to capture the feeling of light through color. And that's exactly what we're doing here. We want to capture the feeling of light through color. So that kind of leads us into another part of the conversation, which is, most of you probably already, some of you are probably aware of the difference between local color and the color of the light. Some folks, that might be new terminology. Local color is the color of the thing. Like that wall drapery is maroon, right? This thing is white. That's local color. Everything has a local color. Now you take that object, you take this white, and you put it under a cool light. It's gonna look like a cooler version of white. But if I take this and put it under a really hot yellow light, it's gonna look like a yellower version of white, right? So that's the color of the light source. So everything is a combination of the local color and then the color of the light source itself. So we're trying to get both the local color, but we're trying to also capture the feeling of the light through color. And I think that's very similar to what the...
Are you talking about the feeling as being cool or warm?
Correct, yeah, and that's exactly right, yeah. Still painting with blocks, and every color note can be adjusted. I mean, so that's why I'm going to go in here and just kind of block in the shadow here with some color. I always kind of joke around about, in Caminati, I say we're the purple shadow school, because it's like, you know, when in doubt, just make the shadow purple. You look at all Nelson's paintings, they're all purple shadow flesh tones. So even the color in his ear here probably be a little different than some of these other, the shadow here, probably a little more reddish, maybe than some of these. You know, so what's the difference between that shadow color and this shadow color? Something I might start to ask myself.
Are you still in the first pass or are you proceeding?
I'm kind of in a second pass for some of my spots because I am starting to adjust them based on their differences to each other. But I'm a first pass for new stuff. So it's, you know, it starts to get a little, there's some really strong, like obvious purples in his shirt. So I'm gonna, I see a little more pink in that color note. So I'm gonna go ahead. And you want to use, I'm going to go ahead and adjust it. You want to use a lot of paint. So today when you put your colors out, you want to put out big gobs of paint because you're going to use it. You want to use a lot of paint for this study. You don't want to think about how much money you're going through when you're doing color study. Yeah, that's right. So like that purple color is in shadow here, but that purple color is in light here. And when it's in light, it looks a little more pinkish. I feel like there's a little more pink in it. Okay. Now it looks too much like that color, so that's, you know, for that color. So I need to figure out how is this purple shirt different than the ear and shadow. Purple shirt and light, ear and shadow. So those are two very different colors. The values are different. Actually, the values are kind of the same, but one's in light and one's in shadow. This is more of an obvious raw purple, and that becomes more of a little bit more of a. It's got kind of a more reddish hue to it. Okay, so I'm going to try to push them away from each other here. And maybe now that I'm feeling a little bit better about the color spot, maybe I will draw with that color, that shape a little bit. I'm seeing some green in my shadows. Grab some phthalo turquoise. I can almost make a phthalo green if I put a little bit of Indian yellow in it here. So still being pretty bold at this point, still being pretty bold. I heard somebody describe this process once. It's almost like tuning an instrument, right? When you first tuning that string, you're gonna go way too low and then way too high, and then it starts to kind of find its, you know, its place. So every time you adjust the color note, it's kind of like that. So color is based on other colors. So I don't want to necessarily say, oh, that's the color for that shadow, and start filling it in, because I don't even have the color for its light mass down yet. Like, I don't really know what this color note is until I get enough color notes around it to see how they're different. So it's still in flux at this point. Let me grab some white, and it's interesting. The light on his beard down here is different than the light on his mustache. It's higher value, lower value down here. So down here, I think there's a little more blue in it. So it's just something that I'm kind of observing at the moment. That's probably a little too high in value. It can push just a